It began in a quiet bayou town in Louisiana, a fisherman casting his line at dawn. What he pulled up wasn't a fish, but the body of a woman whose life had been erased. It was May 20th, 2005, on the outskirts of Jennings, a town of barely 10,000 people. Jerry Jackson, retired and used to quiet mornings, discovered the decomposing body of 28-year-old Loretta Lynn Chasson Lewis. She had struggled with addiction, surviving on the margins of society, living in a world where poverty, drugs, and desperation ruled every street and every canal. But no one imagined this was only the first of many. Over the next 4 years, 7 more women would be discovered in canals, bayous, and abandoned roads, each death echoing the last. Ernestine Marie Daniels Patterson, 28, found in June 2005 with her throat slit. Kristen Gary Lopez, 21, discovered in March 2007. Whitney Dubois, 26, later that year. Laconia Muggy Brown, 23, in May 2008, also with her throat slashed. Crystal Shea Benoit Zeno, 24, in late 2008. Brittany Gary, 17, in November 2008. Cause of death, asphyxia and drugs. And finally, Nicole Jean Guillory, 26, found in August 2009 off Interstate 10. 8 women, 8 lives, all vulnerable, all silenced, all erased from a town that should have noticed. These weren't random victims. Many had acted as informants for local law enforcement, trading information about drug activity for protection or cash. That meant the very women who might have been helped were also targets. The small size of Jennings should have made it impossible for so many deaths to go unnoticed, yet the first body barely raised concern. The next few disappeared into whispers, rumors, and shadows. Each discovery created more questions than answers. Loretta Lewis was more than a name on a coroner's report. She had dreams, she had friends, she had family. She had survived childhood abuse, fought addiction, and was trying to make a better life, yet she ended up floating in the murky canal. And then came Ernestine Patterson, whose family remembered her bright smile and quick wit. Kristen Gary Lopez, young and full of energy, had friends who said she was cautious but trusting. Whitney Dubois, Laconia Brown, Crystal Zeno, Brittany Gary, and Nicole Guillory. Each had people who loved them. Each had lives cut short for reasons no one could explain. Jennings was a town of hidden darkness. Poverty, drugs, and desperation created a volatile environment. Many of the victims worked as sex workers or were addicted to drugs, living on the fringes of society. But what made this case truly horrifying was the informant culture. These women had provided information to law enforcement, offering their trust in exchange for protection or cash. Some say that trust may have made them targets. In a small town, word travels fast, but some secrets are kept, and some people are protected, no matter how dangerous. By 2009, after the discovery of multiple bodies, a multi-agency task force was finally formed, combining local, state, and federal investigators. Crime scenes were re-examined, witnesses interviewed, and patterns meticulously tracked. For a moment, hope flickered. The town, the families, even the investigators thought justice might finally arrive. But the deeper they dug, the darker the reality became. Witnesses reported intimidation. Evidence disappeared. Crime scenes were mishandled. Statements from people who knew too much vanished. One investigator who raised concerns was forced out, warning that the real danger might be inside the police department itself. Several names emerged. Frankie Richard, a local strip club owner and alleged drug dealer, had connections to many of the women and was often seen with them shortly before their deaths. Warren Gary, a local officer, was accused of suspicious activities, including acquiring vehicles that may have been used in disposing of a body. Others had criminal histories or violent tendencies. Yet no one was convicted for all 8 murders. Arrests were made, charges were dropped. To the families and the town, it wasn't just investigative failure, it was betrayal. The pattern suggested something more than random violence. Obstruction and cover-up were whispered at every turn. Witnesses disappeared or were silenced. Key evidence vanished. Bodies were dumped as if in a ritual of erasure. The system meant to protect these women may have been protecting the killers instead. The investigation revealed chilling details. Several victims were last seen in the company of men with criminal backgrounds. Some had been at strip clubs or parties where police informants also gathered information. Others had been threatened or coerced to stay silent about what they knew. But when they tried to speak, there was nowhere to go. The town was small. Everyone knew everyone, and fear ran deep. Each discovery brought heartbreak. Families remembered birthdays missed, Christmases without daughters, and anniversaries haunted by unanswered questions. Friends recalled laughter, late-night conversations, and moments that would never return. Each woman had a story, and yet, in the eyes of the town, they were largely invisible. Their lives were erased before their deaths, and their deaths were minimized afterward. Who killed the Jeff Davis 8? Was it a single person, a group, or a network still hidden in plain sight? How many leads were lost because of negligence, fear, or corruption? If some of the women were informants, how many other crimes were never solved? And most chilling, can justice ever reach them if the system itself may have been shielding the killers? Investigators struggled with limited evidence. Bodies in various stages of decomposition made it hard to determine the exact cause of death. Forensic techniques revealed traces of drugs, asphyxia, and blunt force trauma in some cases. But in a town so small, the people with knowledge feared retaliation. Every lead seemed to vanish, every witness too afraid to talk, every clue buried under layers of secrecy. Even years later, the case casts a long shadow. Journalists, documentary makers, and true crime investigators have revisited the story, trying to uncover the truth. Some have suggested that a network of criminals and law enforcement officials may have been complicit, intentionally silencing the victims to protect their own interests. Others argue that it was a serial killer exploiting the vulnerability of marginalized women. The truth may be a combination of both. The human cost is staggering. 8 women, all with families, friends, and hopes, were silenced. Their absence has left a permanent wound in Jennings. Anniversaries, birthdays, and family gatherings are reminders that justice remains out of reach. The town itself bears the weight of these disappearances, haunted by the unanswered question, could this have been prevented? This story continues to resonate, a chilling reminder of how society treats its most vulnerable. The Jeff Davis 8 are not just names in a file. They were daughters, sisters, friends, and women who deserved protection. Their deaths expose systemic failures, corruption, and the dark underbelly of a town that ignored the warning signs for too long. In a town where the streets carry more whispers than traffic, 8 women vanished. Their bodies drifted in the bayous, their names faded in records, yet their memory persists. It's a warning, a demand, and a question. In the silence of Jennings, who will speak the truth loud enough to shatter the darkness? The case remains unsolved, but justice, though delayed, is not forgotten. And somewhere in those quiet canals, the lives of the Jeff Davis 8 continue to haunt the town, demanding answers that have been too long denied.